It's a great day, and in case you don't know it, it's a great time for Hebrew Israel. Over the past few weeks, the nation has been accused of things that's not true. Several of our brethren, while they have not complete knowledge, have come out and made statements about their education and learning. You find out that Hebrew Israel is a compilation of a nation from our forefathers who are melanated people. There's a documentary out that's been out for a while, but it just gained heat in the last few weeks or months, called From Hebrews to Negroes. People without knowledge have deemed it anti-Semitic, while in fact it's not anti-Semitic at all. It only documents the fact that Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Noach, and our four founding fathers were melanated people, and that the nation of Hebrew Israel, or the nation of Israel, is not a non-melanated people. That's all it says. That's all it says. It allowed me to realize how expanse and how large Israel is, where they are, and what makes them up. We've spent a lot of time focusing on this America, but the Most High said that He was going to disperse us to the four corners of the earth. And sure enough, He don't lie. So, Sean and I sat down in our latest release of the podcast that went out this morning. For those of you who are watching by stream, our podcast is on podbeam.com. You can download it. And the latest episode is there, in which that we add some more context and content to the discussion from a textual perspective, as well as giving you some resources to read and to educate yourself. One thing I'm going to say is people without knowledge shouldn't open up their mouth and try to explain something they can't explain. It only proves and shows your ignorance. It's better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and prove it. And when you open your mouth about things that you're not knowledgeable about, you really look quite foolish. I would not be, and all of those of you that are of melanated features, you would not be in this America. You would not be in this America. You would not be in this America if somebody hadn't have brought you here. Your ancestors, your grandfathers, your great-grandmothers, those who were subjected to slavery, would not be in this America except somebody brought us here. So it's hard for truth to trump a lie. But I learned something from one of my dear friends who told me the difference between truth and lie is that a lie always has to have an alibi. But truth stands on its own merit. So with that all being said, you know what we do? Let's go, Kohaim Appleton.
All right. That's oh really? It's like they got trying to get 11 turned on. You see that we up here. It's 11. But I'll rock with this until y'all get. Oh, we're not good yet. All right. What is this? 10. Excuse me. 10. I told you the wrong number. He said, "Come on and let's go." And y'all gave that old weak. It was weak as all get out. And I mean weak. He said, "Let's go. Shabbat Shalom." All right. Israel is in the house. Is the Most High accounted for and present? No? Showing, okay. I just want to let you, he's here. If you didn't notice, we're mindful of the Most High. I thank the Most High for this ability to be able to stand before you today. I thank the Most High for both Ambassador Kevin Holman and both Ambassador Robert B. Holman Jr. We try our best to do what? Keep the Most High in front of us. He directs our path. We try to do everything that's to our best of our ability that's written in that thing called our manuscript, our Constitution. You know, as I was sitting over there today, as I sat down, I thought about something. You know what I see when I look out at all of you? See, we're not big in numbers in here. You know? Not big in numbers at all. I thought about Yerubbaal. Who is Yerubbaal? Raise your hand, Yerubbaal. Gideon. Gideon, every time you think of Gideon, you should think of the mighty who? The mighty 300. I told you that whole entire history. He went up against a lot of people. And when he went up against a lot of people, he was able to be victorious. But only 300. I think about Shimshon. Shimshon was an army of one. With one dog, what is that? A donkey's jawbone. He slaughtered 1,000 men. This is the tipping point upon which the Most High is using us to turn back the rest of Hebrew Israel. And just because we're few in numbers, we can achieve great things as long as the Most High, we keep the Most High in front of us. Okay? We keep things in perspective that way. And so with that, I say Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Let's get into the conclusion of Shotim. Shotim, Shotim, Shotim. Shotim stands for the judges. We went over chapter number 20 last week in some brief parameters. We're going to go through chapter 20 in its entirety and go into 21. There really isn't anything in these two particular chapters that is, I would say, earth-shattering, or we need to change the way we think, or our paradigm, or ideology on how we've seen text before in the past. In my opinion, in trying to go through and do some study on this, 20 and 21 are really straightforward. 20, we are going to see again a civil war break out amongst the tribes of Hebrew Israel. It will be Israel against Benjamin. And then what we're going to see in chapter number 21 is the conclusion of not only Shotim, but what we're going to see is the conclusion of this issue where there's some remorse upon almost having a genocidal wipeout of the tribe of Benjamin, and how, even while clever, trying to come up with a way where this one particular mitzvot, which is the mitzvot of oaths, gets taken care of. So they're able to bring individuals back into the fold and try to build up Benjamin one more time. Or not one more time, but at least build Benjamin back up from this kind of genocidal wipeout. Okay? So there really isn't anything to really delve into. But if the Most High leads me in a way where I go off the rabbit trail and get on a rant somewhere, then so be it. But otherwise, we're going to take the Most High at his word and begin reading. I really appreciate the ability to understand who we are and where we're going. Where we're going. Which is where? To land. To land. So we need to kind of get out of this idea of being comfortable where? Here. You think that these things that are happening, listen, I'm going to get off on my first rabbit trail right now. I'm stepping off the road right now. I draw all of you Hebrews back to a time, land far away, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. No, in a land, in a time when we were in Mitzrayim. And Moshe went before whom? Paro. And he said, it's time to let these people go. And what did the Most High tell him that he was going to do to Paro's heart? Harden it. Hey, we want to go out into the wilderness so we can worship the Most High. Who are you to tell me that the workforce that makes this whole entire country run is going to leave for 3 days?
There you go. I know where you're going.
Who are you to tell me that I'm supposed to do that? No. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do is I'm going to take away some of your materials so it's a lot harder for you to do your job. The Most High, you looked at it like, okay, why in the world is the Most High hardening his heart? Because what is he doing? He's doing the same thing that he was doing then that he's doing right now. He's ratcheting up the pressure so you will what? Cry out. So we can do what? Leave. I shouldn't say I wish, but I'm glad that it's there, because when you find out these jewels, because what we're doing is filling in the blanks. Why did he harden his heart? Because he wants to crank up the pressure, so he needs to get these people to go somewhere. Just like what you're doing now. What are you doing now? Oh, let's make it comfortable here so we can stay. You owe me this, you owe me that. You wouldn't be here if you hadn't gotten off those mitzvos. You'd be sitting up in a cushy land, grass flowing. You'd be able to go outside, pick your own food. The sky wouldn't turn, what did it say in the prophets? I'm going to turn that sky into iron. You'd be in an area where you would be, the land would be beneficial to you. You would have a way of government, a way of life. But you decided, I'm going to use this one. I don't want to even give it away. How many of y'all listen to the podcast already? You haven't? You haven't? It came out last night. You're going to hear somebody in there named Sky Daddy Jesus. He's going to show up in that podcast. You waiting on him. It's not going to happen. So we need to be fortified in our minds that, hey, let's continue this. When it's time for us to leave, see, I know what you're talking about. I got this whole entire thing mapped out and I'm not even here right now. You need to fortify your mind to say what? When it comes time for us to leave, what's going to happen in reality? You're going to be painted as a what? As a terrorist. What are you getting ready to do? There's some people over there in your land right now. If all of us right now decided, okay, we're back on the Most High, we've cried out, we're now doing the mitzvot, now it's time for us to go back into the land. The world would come against you. It's no different from what we've been reading in the Judges and in Yehoshua. When Yehoshua went into the land, he had to get rid of all the nations. It wasn't just one. It wasn't two. It wasn't three. The whole entire nation, the region of that area came against them. It is going to be a repeat of the same thing. Unprecedented times are before us. You're going to have to understand they're going to be coming at you with biological warfare, chemical warfare, their bullets, their guns to stop you. They'll try to affect the earth so you can't go back. I almost want to call you up here so you can talk about what you led with. Matter of fact, come on. I'm going to get, no. This is right where it needs to be. You only got enough time until this battery run out. Just do it that way. So I can steal your thunder. No, I can't steal your thunder? Okay, steal your thunder. As you're watching that documentary, my teacher and mentor came in, and as we began to podcast, he says, listen, or at least even at the end, he says, you know what I realized when watching that documentary? Is that we've been focusing on Hebrew Israel here. Do you realize that Hebrew Israel is beyond the expanse of the United States? In the transatlantic slave trade, one of the biggest countries that received Hebrews was the country or the continent of South America. 700 years prior to that, in the 700s, in the 8th century, prior to the 1400s, for the transatlantic, you had the Indian Ocean slave trade. So not only are we here on this side of the hemisphere, or I should say on this side of the world, but we're dispersed all over the world. So in order for, we're not just talking about us, we're talking about what is going to have to happen so the whole entire world, wherever we're dispersed, four corners come diverge on one spot. It's beyond the scope of the United States. Come on with it. Okay? I'm also tell you something that was real beneficial to me because I shared it with my family and they almost jumped out of their pants when they said it. I said, you know what, our mentor and our teacher here at First Tabernacle also said that night too. He says, I'm going to give something else to you. So I'm going to get real ornery right now. I'm going to talk right into this camera or whatever camera is on me. I don't care which one. But I'm going to talk to all you Hebrews out there professing to be Hebrews. Like some of our entertainers that are out there. And I know 3 of them in my head right now. Don't claim being Hebrew and you are not walking the path. That's all fine and good. You want to bring out Hebrew roots. But I don't see no manifestation of Hebrew in you. That's what I want to see. Before we decide we want to get on the bandwagon and get behind individuals, we need to see the quality and content of what Martin Luther King said of your character. Come on now. That's what I want to see. Oh my goodness. Understand your value. Understand who you are. It will change your whole entire outlook. We don't even look at this book anymore like there's something that what they're going to do tomorrow. Matter of fact, what they're going to be doing tomorrow, actually, I didn't want to say this, but I am, it's going to be fun to watch by way of stream some of these places tomorrow because they're going to be more worried about why Gavin Newsom got reelected than actually opening up some text and reading it. This is more of a political thing for anybody else. Or when they go tomorrow, they're going to want to hear some uplifting speech about how I can make it, how the individual can make it. That's great. Finish it, preacher. Finish it, pastor. It's not only about getting yourself in a space where you know who you are for your value, but it's also about a communal advancement. It can't just be about I just want to make it. I just want to make it to the next week. What about the rest of us? There is a plan and a goal. And if we're not focused on the end game, we're going to stay where we are. So I come back to full circle to square one. Don't be surprised. Matter of fact, for all you Hebrews, when something else catastrophic happens to one of your brothers and sisters in the street, all you're going to do is just shake your head. See, this is why. Somebody, instead of y'all going out there and preaching about how somebody is going to be somebody's slave, why don't you go out there and start reading the mitzvot to these folk? You're too busy worried about stuff that's irrelevant instead of what matters, which is what? Getting back to the land. Okay, now, since that's done, we all friends, I can go sit down, take my seat. Oh, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. I'm getting comfortable up here. Shotim chapter 20. Israel confronts the Levi. Truth does matter. Amen. Truth does matter. Israel judges Israel. And then Israel's civil war. So when I say Israel judges Israel, you could substitute that second Israel for the tribe of Benjamin. Okay? Next, chapter number 21 that completes the book of the Judges. Israel goes to war against Benjamin. We see the resolve of this. The tribe of Benjamin is almost wiped out. And then Israel's solution to Benjamin's extinction or the genocide that actually happens to them. They get down to far and few in between. All right. Let's get right into this. Does anybody remember where we left off last time when we said, okay, the Levi, he went over there and he went and complained to the tribe of Benjamin and whatnot? Chapter 20 actually starts out with going back a little bit before we get into the civil war. And it goes through the testimony of this particular Levite because he's at this particular point cut out his wife, his concubine, and sent her out so everybody could see her, see this atrocity. It gets the tribes fired up and they confront this individual to try to do some investigative work. Let's read this chapter to get together. We're going to read both of these chapters through and through. And if the Most High elects to release me in the next however long, that's however long we're going to take. Touch your neighbor and say, Amen. Touch Kevin and say, Amen. Something we used to do in the old church. Don't touch me. I don't know what you got on you. I don't know what spirits you got. I don't want that. Whatever that is. All right, let's get into it. Let's hear from our text, our manuscript, our constitution, our statutes, our way of life, our governance. Not a religion. Not a religion. Not a religion. This is how we function. This is not a good look for our ancestors. So let's see. Chapter 20. All of the people of Israel came out from Dan to Beersheba, including Gilad. The community assembled on one accord before Yahweh at Mitzpah. That means that everybody, when you see, that comes up a lot in text. Well, I should say a lot, but it comes up a few places where it says from Dan to Beersheba. That means everywhere. North, south, east, west. This was everybody. To Mitzpah. The leaders of all the tribes of Israel presented themselves in the assembly of the people of El. 400,000 foot soldiers armed with swords. I got to take another sidebar here too. All right. I want to fortify your mind. Think about, this is maybe not for our generation. It may not be for your children's generation. It may be a couple generations down the line when they're listening to this and we're trying to encourage them when they said our ancestors were on this. I'm going to tell you this, okay? Fortify your mind. Don't be scared. Because everywhere you read in text, when the Most High uses some folk, they usually come out victorious and the people that get sent out don't die. Okay? So when they say it's time to come take the land and you see all those bullets and guns and chemical warfare, don't cower. Okay? Don't cower. Because we've seen too many examples where the Most High will use not only the elements of the earth, but he will use his army of insects and animals and all types of things. Wind, hurricanes, land, water. Do you realize who's fighting with you? So when it's time for these folks to raise up, they don't have a problem because they're not thinking about, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go to a meaningless war. I'm going to die. We also read somewhere earlier on, I think in Yahashua, where it says 36 men died, and it was a problem. Because of the fact that that individual, what did he do? He said, go in there and wipe everything out. And he went in there and took somebody's Versace robe. He took their Gucci slippers, and he took some money, and he buried it in his tent. He brought it to, I'm being facetious. That's not what it says. You're not going to find Versace or Gucci in there for those who want to take me very literal. But he hid some things in there when it was told that all these things are supposed to go to the treasury. And because of that disobedience, that one piece of disobedience, 36 people lost their lives. But you can also fortify your mind to know that if we're acting in right standing with the Most High and we're obedient to the Most High, we will be victorious. So 400 foot soldiers armed with swords. Verse 3. Now the people of Benjamin heard the people of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. So the people of Israel said, tell us, how was this crime committed? The Levi. You already know the end of the story because we went through this last week, right? Okay, good. The husband of the murdered woman said, I came to Givah, which belongs to Benjamin. I and my concubine to stay the night. Now, again, I asked those questions last time. Is that true? I came to Givah, which is true, which belongs to Benjamin. Is that true? Yes. I and my concubine. Yes. To stay the night. Yes. And the men of Givah attacked me. No. They surrounded me. Attacked me and surrounded the house I was staying in at night. They wanted to kill me. No. But instead, they raped my concubine to death. I took my concubine's body, cut it into pieces, and then sent them throughout the territories belonging to Israel. This is his motive right now, to get Israel fired up. You've taken a concubine, and that's what I'm saying. When she violated the mitzvot was that she was supposed to die because of her harlotry. Right? Okay. I'm going to take another sidebar too. There's going to be a lot of rabbit trails today as I'm going along here. Let me fortify your mind here as well. You also live in the United States and you realize that we have a justice system that some things might be a little hard, right? Some individuals probably have gone to prison for 50 to 80 years on a petty crime. That's because our society frowns on certain types of things. And so therefore, in order to get the people not to do them, they have a stiff penalty that comes along with it. I just don't want people to look at our text. If you're new to being Hebraic and you're looking at the mitzvot, you're saying, what? How hard is that? She cheated, so her punishment is death? Is that something? Yes. Why? Because the Most High doesn't like it. He doesn't want harlotry within the confines of Hebrew Israel. So he makes the penalty something that you don't want to ever get yourself caught in. That's why you don't go out in the United States and murder people. That's why you don't go out there and be a drug cartel lord. Because you know that you're going to end up spending the eternity in jail. Or if not, get the death penalty if you're in a specific state, right? So quit acting like when you read the mitzvot, oh, this is just cruel and this is cruel punishment for somebody. This is not the United States we're talking about. That's your first problem. This is a nation unlike your own. Okay, here we go. Okay, they cut her into pieces and sent her throughout all the territories belonging to Israel because they committed this shocking, obscene, and degrading crime in Israel. Look, you are all the people of Israel. So discuss what to do and give your advice here and now. Verse 8. All the people stood up in agreement and said, none of us will go home to his tent or his house. What we will do now is go to Givah, what we will do now to Givah is this. We'll draw lots. We'll take 10 men out of each 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 out of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000 to collect food for the others. When these come to Givah and Benjamin, they will avenge the crime that was committed. Thus, all the men of Israel joined together in complete agreement, assembled to attack the city. Now you're going to ask me, like I said before, let me reiterate the motive here. In my estimation, not to say that the text is saying this, but the motivation here is you've taken a Levi's wife, Benjamin, and you've brutally murdered her. You do things in an orderly manner. You don't, if someone has to get stoned, then that's what they get is stoned. You don't go and rape and beat them and do all this other kind of stuff that's inhumane in order for them to arrive at their death. Okay? We're not acting in form of the mitzvot. And again, this is a Levite. This doesn't happen to our elite. Okay? So we have some motive here. Why or at least why the tribes of Israel are going after Benjamin. Verse 12 begins the civil war. So the tribes of Israel sent men throughout all the tribe of Benjamin with this message. What is this crime committed by some of your people? Turn over these good-for-nothings who are in Givah at once, so that we can execute them and rid Israel of such evil. This is such a hypocritical statement while you have idols sitting right up in there. Wow, okay. But the framework for this is already set, because at this time, there was no king in Israel, and people simply did what was right in their own eyes. But the people of Benjamin refused. Why would they refuse? What is their motive? Their motive is that this Levi came to us asking for help, saying, hey, I have a harlot wife. We have to rid Israel of this crime. Oh, and by the way, we also know that you have idols over there too that you're worshiping. I went through that whole entire dissertation. Now, I got on my platform last time and when I spoke and I said, I'm filling in some blanks that are here. I said, we can all agree that there is a tremendous amount of information that's missing from here that would aid in some definitive answers. But this is the string that actually makes this work. Why wouldn't you just go ahead and just go and investigate this a little bit better? I mean, for goodness sake, you have some eyewitnesses, which, the Levite obviously left out. He was in somebody's house. The old man was there. He opened the door and talked to him. He could ID everybody. The daughter was there. How come she couldn't ID anybody? This is some Keystone Cop, really bad investigative practices, but they have their motive. But the people of Benjamin refused to obey the order of their kinsmen, the people of Israel. Instead, the people of Benjamin gathered themselves together from their cities and went to Givah to fight the people of Israel. On that day, there were, remember this number, 26,000 men. What? How many? How many? How many? How many? 26,000 men from Benjamin, armed with swords, besides the inhabitants of Givah, who numbered 700 specially chosen men. All of these 700 specially picked men were left-handed for a reason. And everyone could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. Let me tell you something, folks. We got guns and rifles and ARs with laser scopes. And I'm going to tell you what, you can't guarantee me that if I had a hare 100 yards or even a pumpkin, matter of fact, that's not even true. Let's go something small like an apple, an X amount of distance away, that you'd have laser vision to hit that in the same spot on targets that are moving. Did I leave that out? They're not standing there like, poop, poop, like we bowling pins. They're moving. And we can't miss. Okay? Let's talk about something. Why the tribe of Benjamin? Why them? Why didn't he go to some other tribe? That's where she went. He could have easily gone to some other tribe and said, hey, listen, I have this issue with my wife. Remember, what did I say? When your mentor got up here last time I spoke, and I said, if Joel Osteen's folk came over here and said, we are giving you this church and you get to revamp it and do whatever you want to do. Right. They brought him out and they said, listen, the foot soldiers, the messengers. He stood up here with confidence and arched his back out and stuck his chest out. Ah! Yes, I do it. Take it in a heartbeat. And then you come to find out when you get there, the administration says, what does he say? What does he always say? Who told you that? There was never an opening here. That's what happens at the end of 18. Where he shows up there and he says, because it tells you that specifically, Yotam, son of Gershom, son of Manasseh, was the priest until the exile. He wasn't the priest. So he's got motive to go to at least go to a tribe and say, hey, listen, I know that they got idols in there because I was there when they took it. So I know it's in there. So we got to rid Israel of this idolatry. Now I'm saying, why Benjamin? Well, this is my mental gymnastics on why Benjamin. Because when Yaakov, their father, the patriarchs of all 12 tribes, gave out a blessing. Okay? And one of the blessings about Benjamin was what? He's like a ravenous wolf, consuming the prey in the day and dividing the spoils at night. Okay? Benjamin, think about who you're going up against. The real folk that we want to go up against is the tribe of Dan. Think about how we're in the wilderness and how the individual tribes come out, one in front of the other. Yehuda goes out first. Bing, 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 bing. Who's last? The tribe of Dan. So they got to protect the what? The rear. These are trained individuals. These are not some slouches. But one of the prophecies about Benjamin is that he knows how to fight too. So I'm going to go to the group of folk that I know that can probably handle this, which is the tribe of Benjamin. That's my mental gymnastics on why I believe tribe of Benjamin was picked. He could have why didn't he go to Zebulun? Why didn't he go to Issachar? Why didn't he go to Shimshon? He went to Benjamin specifically. The area where Benjamin was specifically. 17, the army of Israel apart from Benjamin numbered 400 men. Oh, 4. You know what I was thinking about when I was saying that? I was thinking 400 and I stopped mid-sentence because I wanted to say something about David. David was a small guy and he used to sling what? He killed some uncircumcised Philistine, right? Did my whole entire dissertation about that. How smooth the rock was. That when he probably swung that thing, it was moving at about a speed of anywhere from, 80 to maybe 95 miles per hour when it hit him square in the head. And he was moving with armor on. All I'm going to say this is this. Exercise your Second Amendment right. Now, moving on. Exercise your Second Amendment right. Are you not citizens of the United States? If you don't know what your Second Amendment right is, go look it up. Moving on. Because if I can't defend you, I'm not going to allow somebody else to. The army of Israel, apart from Benjamin, numbered 400,000 men with swords. They were all experienced soldiers. The army of Israel began by going up to Bet-El, which is the house of Yahweh, where they asked El, who should go up first and attack the army of Benjamin? Again, the only reason I'm going to say Yehuda first is because that's how they moved in the desert. Yehuda always went out first. Other than that, I have no idea. So don't quote me on this. Don't say that this is the reason why. So the ambassador got up there and said whatever he said. I'm just giving you my estimation. There could be a myriad of things. I don't know. this is one of the probably the minor intricate details that when we get into the land, I will ask our master teacher, why was that written like that? Why did Yehuda go out first? But I don't know the emphatic answer. Some of the army of Israel, this is verse 19. So the army of Israel got up in the morning and set up their camp near Givah. Then the army of Israel went out to attack Benjamin and set up their battle line in front of Givah. But the army of Benjamin came out of Givah and slaughtered the army of Israel on the day. 22,000 men fell. The people, the men of Israel, restored their morale and again positioned themselves for battle where they had been the first day. Now, then the army of Israel went up and cried before Yahweh until evening. They asked Yahweh, should we attack our kinsmen? But the people of Benjamin again. Yahweh answered, attack them. So the army of Israel went out to attack the army of Benjamin the second day. But Benjamin went out against them from Givah the second day and slaughtered the army of Israel. 18,000 men armed with swords fell. Israel is taking a beating. What are we up to? We up to 38,000 people thus far. The whole army of Israel, all the people went to Bethel and cried and sat there in the presence of Yahweh. They what? Oh man, they fasted. There's that word again. Fasted that day until evening, until offered burnt offerings and peace offerings to Yahweh. They asked Yahweh what to do. The ark for the covenant of El was there at that time. So the ark was in Bethel. And Pinchas. Now, this is another one of my indications that says, okay, you can't read from a technical standpoint the book of Shotim and get all the way to the end of Shotim and think that it's in some type of chronological order. Okay, what we're talking about right now happened kind of right after the time of Yahashua. And then you have these judges. But we're also going through this to say this is the kinds of things that were happening in Israel when the Most High says, hey, listen, these individuals did what was evil in my perspective. Okay, and the good indication of this is Pinchas, because Pinchas is still around. Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aharon. See how that is? Aharon was back with Moshe. Okay? Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aharon, stood before it at the time. They asked, should we go out to battle against the kinsmen, the people of Benjamin, or should we stop? Now, everybody knows how that individual, the Kohen Gadol will talk to the Most High, right? They got garb on, all right? They've got the Urim and the Tumium, right? Is that what that's called? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Should we go out to battle? Yes or no? One of them's going to light up, okay? Anything that has to deal with Israel, they ask the questions in the breastplates light up, like my six-pack. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, y'all missed that. Anyway, I got to see if y'all still awake. Woo, man. Oh, it says, Yahweh answered, attack because tomorrow. Oh, excuse me. Let's go back to 28. And Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aharon, stood before at that time. They asked, should we go out to battle again against our kinsmen, the people of Benjamin, or should we stop? Yahweh answered, attack, because tomorrow I will hand them over to you. 29. Israel hid some men. Now, this is the whole entire battle plan, actually, what happened here. We've seen stuff like this before in Yahashua's day, this type of tactic. That's why you can see this type of thing happening again, because they're used to this. Israel hid some men in Givah, and on the third day, Israel attacked the army of Benjamin and took a position against Givah as they had other times. Again, the army of Benjamin went out against the people, lured away from the city. They began attacking and killing some of the people as they had other times. They killed about 30 men of Israel in the courtside on the roads, one of which goes to Bethel and the other to Givah. Where are we at? Oh, we're in the land. Let me answer that for you. We're not in the United States. Oh, okay, good. This is all happening in a specific place, y'all. Excuse my southernness, y'all. The army of Benjamin said, they're defeated just as before. But the army of Israel said, let's run off and draw them away from the city onto the roads. All the men of Israel left their places and took up battle positions at Baal Tamar, while the other Israel men burst out of their hiding places at Ma'arah Givah. 10,000 men chose out of all of Israel, came over to attack Givah, and the combat was intense. But the army of Benjamin did not know that they were about to be defeated, for Yahweh routed Benjamin in Israel's presence. That day, the army of Israel destroyed 25,100 men. I asked you how many men came out, and you told me 26,000. How many are left? 900 men are left of Benjamin, all of whom carried swords, and the people of Benjamin realized that they had been beaten. The men of Israel, trusting the ones they had put in place to ambush Benjamin, gave ground to the men of Benjamin. Then the men who had been laying in wait rushed on Givah, drew their swords, and destroyed the city. The army of Israel and the ambushers had agreed that as a signal, they would make a huge cloud of smoke rise from the city, at which time the men of Israel would turn back. When this happened, Benjamin began to attack. They killed about 30 of Israel's men and said clearly, we're defeating them again, as in the first battle. So they're drawing them out. They're diverting them out. We've got an ambush set out. They drew them away from the city. They've gone to start fighting them away from the city. There's another group that goes into the city. They start killing some of the Israelite men, Hebrew men, and then they get all confident in themselves. We're going to take another victory. Okay? I don't think so. But when the smoke signal began rising from the city, the men of Benjamin looked behind them and saw the whole city going up to the sky in smoke. I was going to make a joke. Anyway, but the Sky Daddy Jesus up was going, with all that smoke down there. Then, as the men of Israel reversed direction, those of Benjamin were overcome with terror. When they saw the disaster had come upon them, they turned their backs on the men of Israel and made for the road to the desert. But the battle followed them, and those who came out of the city destroyed them from the rear. They surrounded the men of Benjamin, chased them, and trampled them down across from Givah on the east. 18,000 men let's add this all up. 18,000 men. This is a regurgitation of what we had a little bit earlier. And there's something in here, there's an anomaly here with at least a number here, which is 25,100. So they said, 44, 18,000 men of Benjamin fell, all of them experienced soldiers. They turned and fled toward the desert to the rock of Rimmon, and 5,000 of them were killed on the roads. How many we got so far? 18,000 plus what? 5,000 is how much? 23. They followed them to Gidom and killed another 2,000. What are we up to now? 25. All right. Thus, the total number from Benjamin who fell that day was 25,000 experienced sword-bearing soldiers. I said earlier there was 25,100. Now, I can't reconcile that. There's 100 people that are not accounted for here later on in the text. This involves some deeper study that I haven't done yet. This is an intricate detail, and I don't have an answer for that. So I just want to raise awareness here in case you had a question. I don't know. 47, verse 47. But 600 turned and fled toward the desert to the rock of Rimmon and lived there for 4 months. The men of Israel turned back on the people of Benjamin and killed them with the sword, the entire city, the cattle, and everything that they found. The cat, the dog, goldfish, everything. Moreover, they set on fire all the cities they encountered. End of chapter 20. So what do we see? We see right here, we see the civil war, and we see the complete demise, almost eradication of the tribe of Benjamin. Now let's get into 21 and we'll finish this up. The men of Israel had sworn an oath. Okay, mitzvot, bing, 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 bing. We got to go over the mitzvots about oaths. This is going to be important. So the men of Israel had sworn a what? An oath in Mitzpah. What's the oath? Actually, let me give you, I'm going to take your thunder away from you a little bit. There's two parts to this oath. This is the first part. What did they swear for this oath? They said, none of them would let his daughter marry a man from Benjamin. That's a problem because they wiped out everything. Okay? There's only a certain amount of men left in Benjamin. Okay, we're talking about how this people continues to progress forward. The people came to Bethel and stayed there before El until evening, crying out and weeping. Let's go to Devarim chapter number 23, 22 through 25. We need to get in our minds what an oath is and what is required of an oath. Now, astute Hebrews that are here, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't actually find in text where there is some type of staunch penalty for breaking an oath, other than you have to fulfill it. You can't just break it. Say, okay, well, I told the credit card company as my oath I was going to pay them back, and then I decided not to do it. No, it doesn't work. And then you go to some type of mitigation or whatnot, or you go through some bankruptcy or whatever, and you don't pay it back. When you make an oath in Hebrew Israel, you have to fulfill it. You can't break it. Just because you get cold feet, you don't want to do it, you get lazy, or maybe if I'm breaking the oath, then it's off. Like breaking a contract. You can't do that. Okay? That's why I said, when you walk around, Hebrew men, with that circumcision in your flesh, you're talking about a contract between the Most High and Hebrew Israel. That means that I have to honor the oath, the contract, the agreement that I made with our ancestor Abraham to deliver you back into the land. Okay? So when you get across the street at 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, at Mount Slapperfood Baptist Church, where the Honorable Reverend Pork Chop is presiding, and he tells you it's all about the circumcision of the heart and not in your flesh, you can call him out on that. Don't get up there and have your choir sing, oh, okay, all these blessings, blessings when I come out and blessings when I go in. Because you ain't going to have it, because you're not part of the contract. You just negated yourself. But I got to take it easy on them, because that's a whole nother religion. They've taken what we've had and made something different out of it. They can do whatever they want. If they want to worship G.I. Joes and Barbie dolls on Sunday morning, they can do so. Have it your way. It's Burger King over there. Devarim chapter 23, verse 22 through 25. About an oath, it says, when you make a vow to Yahweh, your El, you are not to delay in fulfilling it. For Yahweh, your El, will certainly demand it of you, and your failure to do so will be your sin. Now, one could say that if it's a sin, then there's contradicting what I said earlier. You could, I guess, bring a sin offering. There's specific offerings that are for that. So more discussion in that particular area. If you choose not to make a vow at all, that will not be a sin for you. But if a vow passes your lips, you must take care to perform it in accordance to what your in accordance to what you voluntarily vowed to Yahweh your El. What you promised in your words spoken aloud. So what did they speak aloud here? They said none of the men would let his daughter marry a man from Benjamin. They can't reproduce if they can't marry any of the daughters, people from Israel. Not only did we go ahead and wipe out the men, but the men that are left can't even reproduce to make more Benjaminites. So we got a problem here. Said so, verse 3, going back to Shotim, chapter 21. They said, Yahweh, why has this come about in Israel? Why should there be today in Israel one tribe missing? They realized what they had did. The next day, the people got up early, built an altar, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. The people of Israel asked, and that is probably why they made those offerings too. The people of Israel asked, who among the tribes of Israel now? This is where this gets interesting because of their knowledge. See, this is why this makes this even more egregious. Because this is a people that knows the mitzvot, and now they're trying to come up with a way, a gray area, in order to circumvent it. So you don't sit up there and if you're willingly breaking the mitzvot, you know what you're doing. And I know you know what you're doing because now you're trying to come up with a clever way to find a loophole around it. Now you know why the Most High is a little angry at these people, because it's not like they're naive. They know. Verse 5. Again, it says, the people of Israel asked, who among the tribes of Israel did not come up to assemble before Yahweh? Why? Okay, we have a mitzvot that says that none of our daughters are going to marry anybody from the tribe of Benjamin. And we made this oath in front of Yahweh, so we have to honor it. So we can't hold anybody accountable if they weren't there to make the oath. So who among us didn't come up? This is actually going to turn not the way you think. Who didn't come up? Because they didn't make the oath. Who out of Israel didn't come up? Again, verse 5. The people of Israel asked, who among the tribes of Israel did not come up to assemble before Yahweh? Second part of the oath. For they had made a great oath to put to death whomever didn't come up to Yahweh at Mizpah. This is getting worse and worse and worse, because they have to fulfill the oath. That is why a lot of people, you guys had questions and we had a lot of good banter and debate when we talked about that individual. What is his name? Yiftach. He came back from battle and the first thing that walked out of his house was his daughter. And he said, made that oath. He said, Yahweh, if you allow me to be victorious over Ammon, then what I will do is I will offer as a burnt offering the first thing that comes out of the door. Now, a lot of folks are going to say, we don't sacrifice people. But he's in a catch-22. He made an oath, and he has to fulfill it, which is a gray area. Oh, my goodness, this is just a gray area. Because you could argue it both ways. You really could. But what text is showing us is that the oath takes precedent. So no matter what you do, Hebrew Israel, as long as you get back to the mitzvos, the Most High has to honor that oath. The Most High has to honor it. And so he asks us to do the same thing. When we make oaths and vows, we honor what we say. So that means if you didn't come up to Mizpah with the rest of us, not only when we defeat Benjamin, we're not going to give their daughters to him, and whoever didn't come up, we're going to kill them. Because you didn't come up. That's part of the oath that we made before Yahweh. Yahweh, we're not going to give our daughters to them, and whoever isn't here with us right now making this oath with you, we're going to kill. This is what our ancestors did in trying to find a loophole. So that's the first thing they asked. Who wasn't here? Verse 6, the people of Israel became sorry for Benjamin, their brother, and said, today, one tribe has been cut off from Israel. They realized what they did. They painted themselves into a corner. How are we going to obtain wives for those who remain alive, since we've sworn by Yahweh that we won't let our daughters marry them. Verse 8. Then they asked who from the tribes of Israel had not come up to Yahweh at Mizpah, and they found that none had come from Yavesh Gilead. I believe Gilead is in the territory of Gad. Further research needs to be done on that, but that is what my assertion is. Anytime we talk about Gilead, we're talking about the area where Gad is on the west side of the Yarden. To camp where the assembly was, since when the people were counted, none of the inhabitants of Yavesh Gilead were found there. So they gathered, so the gathering sent 12,000 warriors there and ordered them, go and put the people who live in Yavesh Gilead to death with the sword. What are they doing? They're fulfilling that part of the vow because those people didn't show up, including the women and the children. Completely destroy every man and every woman who has had sex with a man. So who's left? Virgins. Virgins are the only ones left. You kill every man. You kill every woman who has had sex with a man. Who hasn't had sex with man? Virgins. All right? But then also in the pretext, we see that the children were killed as well. So the only people that are left are virgins from Yavesh Gilead. 12. Among the inhabitants of Yavesh Gilead, there were 400 young virgins. How many Hebrew Benjamites are left? The question is how do we have enough? We don't have enough. They only found 400 that were left. And we got more Benjaminites. So we got more guys than we got girls. Say, among the inhabitants of Yavesh Gilead, they found 400 young virgins who had not known a man by lying with him. And they brought them to the camp at Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan, which is where our land is. Then the whole gathering sent a message proclaiming peace to the people of Benjamin. Now, here's the question. They're trying to find, by the oath, everyone should have been annihilated, right? Even the virgins, if you think about it. But they kept them alive. So they're trying to say, okay, yeah, we're doing most of the vow. We're honoring the part that says we personally are not going to give our personal daughters to them, So who wasn't here? We'll fulfill part of that vow by wiping them out, but whoever's left out of the virgins, we'll use them to give to the Benjaminites so they can procreate. And that's what's going to happen here. They're twisting and bending these mitzvot. But again, it's not hard to understand. Why? Because in those days, there was no king in Israel. And people did what they thought was right in their own. All right. They're doing this. It's not entirely Torah in a row. Okay? 13. When the whole gathering sent a message proclaiming peace to the people of Benjamin who were at the rock of Rimmon, so Benjamin returned at that time, and the people of Israel gave them the women they had kept alive from the women of Yavesh Gilead. But those weren't enough for them. The people were still sorry for Benjamin because Yahweh had made a division among the tribes of Israel. So the leaders of the assembly asked, what are we to do for those who still don't have wives, insomuch as the women of Benjamin have been killed? So we still got a problem. We got to deal with these extra men out here because we can't give them our daughters. They said, there has to be a way to help the survivors preserve Benjamin's inheritance. Again, I'm going to stand on this platform. You're trying to find loopholes in something that you abandoned. That means that they're inside of you. You know them all. Now you're trying to find loopholes and you're still going off doing idolatrous worship. This is a hard-headed, stiff-necked group of people. You can't set a precedent that you know Torah, finding loopholes in it so you can get around it, and at the same time willingly going out and serving idols. This is blatant blasphemy against the Most High, what they doing in some instances with these idols and everything else that they got going on, these ashtray poles and worshiping Baalam and Dagon, if you remember who that is. The whole gathering, 17. There's got to be a way to help the survivors preserve Benjamin's inheritance so that a tribe will not be eliminated from Israel. 18. Yet we can't give them our daughters as wives, for the people of Israel had sworn, cursed be whoever gives a wife to Benjamin. Then they said, look, each year there's a festival in honor of Yahweh at Shiloh, north of Bethel, on the east side of the road that goes up from Bethel to Shechem and south of Lebanon. Now, I'm going to take a stop here again. I'm going to take another pause because when I was reading this, I said, what festival is this? And I'm thinking to myself, what time of the year is it? Can I pinpoint, is this one of the major 5 festivals that we have? And I couldn't find anything in text or any ancillary commentary that led me to a definitive answer on what this festival that he's talking about is here. But I do want to draw your attention to Exodus chapter 5, verse 1 and 3. Because as our master teacher Moshe is talking to Pharaoh, he says this. After that, when we're talking about festivals to honor the Most High. Now, at this particular time when you read this, Pesach is not instituted. Sukkot's not instituted. Shavuot's not in there. Rosh Hashanah, not Rosh Hashanah. We're not going to use that term anymore. Feast of Trumpets is not in there. Sukkot is not in there. It hasn't happened yet. So I'm going to go back to here when it says Exodus chapter 5, verse 1. It says, after that, Moshe and Aharon came and said to Paro, here is what Yahweh, the El of Israel says, let my people go so they can celebrate a festival in the desert to honor me. Okay? Pesach hasn't happened. There's nothing even remotely close saying that this is Pesach, or you could possibly say this is Shavuot. Possibly. Okay? But it isn't definitive here. So, again, more discussion. This is an intricate detail. You could argue it both ways. One could say, okay, this probably is Shavuot. One could say it isn't because it isn't emphatically stated here. But I draw attention as if anything you don't get out of this is the precedent to actually have the conversation about what this festival could possibly be. So as a starting point, if we disagree or agree to disagree, let's start at a foundation and use Exodus as a precedent, or Shemot 5, 1 through 3 as a precedent to say, okay, they were called out to honor the Most High in a festival. And this possibly could be Shavuot. But I'm not definitive on that. Let's jump back to Shotim chapter 21, verse 20. And all we got to do is go to 25. Then we're done. Verse 20. They ordered the men of Benjamin, go hide in the vineyards and keep watch. If the girls of Shiloh come out and do their dances, I could only imagine you Hebrew women. Y'all are so creative with y'all dances. What that could have actually been. Whew, my God. Bruh, that one's mine. No, that one's mine. The one in the blue. They came out dancing. Look at y'all, all the husbands in here are quiet. Yeah. Don't act like your eyes are broke. Anyway, came out to watch the girls of Shiloh do their dances, then come out of the vineyards, and each of you catch for himself a wife from the Shiloh girls, and go on to the land of Benjamin. When their fathers and brothers come to complain, this is a mitzvah. When their fathers and brothers come out to complain to us, we will say to them, give them as a personal favor to us. Give them to us. What did they do at Yavesh Gilead? When they killed everybody at Yavesh Gilead, they took all the women and they distributed them to Benjamin. They're doing the same thing here. It said when their fathers and brothers come out and complain, and that also should tell you when we get into this issue of relationships, when we go through how a Hebrew a relationship is set up, dads and fathers help carry a lot more weight than they do in the United States in 2022. Okay? That's going to be a hard teaching when we get there. But these fathers and brothers come out to complain to us, we'll say to them, listen to what they'll say. It says, give them as a personal favor to us, because we didn't take wives for them in battle. What battle? At the battle of Yavesh Gilead. We didn't get enough women at Yavesh Gilead. We're using these daughters of Shiloh, and we're going to give them to them because we didn't take enough. So do that as a personal favor for us. This is not mitzvot right here. This is doing what is right in your own eyes still, because we're still under the auspices of the oath. Okay? Now, it says, you didn't get, well, this is what they'll say, tell them. Give them as a personal favor to us because we didn't take wives for each of them in battle. You didn't give them to them. You didn't do that. So you don't break your oath. That would have made you guilty by breaking your oath. Okay, which is a mitzvah. Now, what mitzvah am I talking about when I say when their fathers and brothers come out to complain? There is a mitzvah in Bad Midbar, chapter 30, verses 2 through 7. And it reads this. That is why you don't get the whole entire scope. We keep saying this every time we get up here and talk. You don't have an appreciation for the text because you don't know the background. You don't know the mitzvah, why they're saying what they're saying. So they're asking the question, when they come out, why are the fathers and the brothers coming out? Because they're following the mitzvah. And this is what the mitzvah is. It says, then Moshe, our master teacher, our opulent, ostentatious, paragon of resplendence, ambassador for the Most High, Moshe spoke to the heads of the tribes of the people of Israel. He said, here is what Yahweh has ordered. When a man makes a vow to Yahweh or formally obligates himself by swearing an oath, he is not to break his word, but is to do everything he said he would do. 4, when a woman makes a vow to Yahweh, formally obligating herself while she is a minor living in her father's house, then if her father has heard what she has vowed or obligated herself to do and holds his peace, then all of her vows remain binding. So if he doesn't say anything or speak up, then her vow remains binding. Every obligation she has bound herself to will stand. But on the day her father hears of it and expresses his disapproval, what did the text just say in Shotim? It says, when their fathers and brothers come to complain to us, saying, hey, you're going to make me break my vow, bro. I can't give my daughter to them. That's why they're saying, do us a favor and give your daughters to us. And then we will redistribute them to them. So you don't have to break your vow. We're trying to find this gray area to navigate through here so we can preserve the tribe of Benjamin. And we're doing it by way of the mitzvot. But you don't know that because you don't know the mitzvot. So you're lost. So what you do is just read on, oh, what a terrible story that is. Oh, they almost got wiped out. If you don't know the backstory behind all of it, you won't understand. Okay? Let's jump back into 23. And then 23, 25, and we'll be done. So the men of Benjamin did this. They took wives, and we're going to read 25 together. They took wives for themselves from the girls who were dancing, as many as they needed. They carried them off. They went back to the land of their inheritance, rebuilt cities, and lived in them. The people of Israel then left the place. Each man returned to the tribe and his tribe and family. And each man went out from there to the land he had inherited. 25 reads is this, and what an eloquent way to close the whole entire book of Shotim, the judges and the application of the mitzvot, our rescuers, individuals that have been put in place to be messiahs. What are messiahs? Anointed ones, people that usher in the salvation of who? The empire of Israel, right? We see the ups and downs of our ancestors. We see a bunch of knuckleheads breaking oaths, doing what they thought was, matter of fact, I don't want to take it away. Let's read it together. It says, at that time, there was no king in Israel. A man simply did whatever he thought what was right. That is that is November 2022, the 12th day, Amino Domini, the day of our Lord, right now. People just simply do whatever they think it is right in their own heart and their own mind. No one is exempt from that. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm self-righteous and say we haven't fallen under that, because we have. We're doing the best we can. We've matriculated from coming out from being Christian to being almost full-fledged Ashkenazi Jews, to going right into shedding all that, going right into shedding this thing about Yeshua HaMashiach, coming right back full circle to the Most High. It's been a progress. It's called progress, not perfection. We should not be so quick to criticize others. Our brothers and sisters were where we were. But if we keep in sight, getting back to what? What is the main goal here? Let's get back to these mitzvot. Let's get back to understanding how the Most High wants his empire to function so we can matriculate back into the land. You ain't got to worry about all these trials and tribulations and things. Y'all got to go to a Tony Robbins concert or this. What is this? T.D. Jakes' daughter then took over his Thou Art Loose ministry, whatever that is, so y'all can go ahead and get y'all fixed for the week, your emotional orgasm and fix for the week. Because you're not out here learning nothing about no mitzvot. All right? So, with that, we close the book of Shotim. We're going to skip over the book of Ruth. And the next time I come before you, we're going to start the book of 1 Samuel. And we're going to see our first king. We're going to learn what worship really looks like when we get to Samuel. And we're going to continue to see this roller coaster attitude with our ancestors. Remember, don't be so quick to criticize and chastise somebody else. Don't be so quick to get caught up in what the world wants you. There's a young brother right now that's going under a lot of scrutiny in pro sports because he made a statement. And y'all all are focusing on the wrong thing. You're focusing on the belt. When is the last time you got disciplined by your parents, either spanking, the extension cord, 2x4, slap, their hands, a shoe? If you're of Latino descent, they call it a chancla. Anybody know what a chancla is? They take that chancla right off of their foot and throw it right at your forehead. When is the last time that after you got your disciplinary action, you get mad at the tool that was used to hit you? That's all the Ashkenazis are, is the tool to get you to turn back to the mitzvot. And this is what mass media is doing. Let me get you Hebrew squared away so you know where to focus your attention. We don't want to ever see anything happen to anybody. But like Paro and Moshe, I got to ratchet up the heat on y'all so y'all will turn, because otherwise you won't do it. Let me take some materials away so you can make, if we get to it, you'll make bricks out of air. Okay? That's what all this is about. Turning back to the Most High and following the mitzvot and getting back to our land. We got our mission, right? We're fortified in our minds. We know what to expect. We ain't going to be like the Christian church where you just go over there and whatever happens, just happens. Okay? We like definitive answers. We like specifics. If we're going to invest our time, let's do it wisely. I want to bless you all on my way out today. Bad Midbar. chapter 6, verse 22 through 26. Now, before I go in at it, can anybody tell me what's in chapter 6, verses 1 through 23? What's before this? The mitzvot of the Nazir, which we just went over with our ancestor Shimshon. You come out of those and you go right into this right here where it says, Yivareka ka Yahweh v'yishmareka. Yair Yahweh panav eleka v'haneka v'yisa Yahweh panav eleka v'yasam laka shalom. In the Hebrew tongue, you hear what I said? The Hebrew tongue, not the Yiddish tongue. Oh boy. In the Hebrew tongue it says, and translated in English, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh lift up his face to shine on you and show you his favor. May Yahweh lift his face towards you and give you shalom. I say to all my brothers and sisters, ambassadors and fellow residents and citizens of the Empire of Israel, shalom.